After the Suns unsuccessfully were trying to shop Kevin Durant at the trade deadline, he remains a Phoenix Sun, but not for too much longer. It seems like at the end of this season, Durant and Phoenix will work together to trade him to what they say is a title contender. Steve, this would be Durant's what? Fifth or 16th? OKC, Golden State, Brooklyn, Phoenix. So this would be his fifth team that he would now be a part of, and at least the third team that he, or second or third team, he'd be traded away from. So at this point in time, what do you make of Kevin Durant's legacy and, kind of what his future looks like at this point?
Kevin Durant's a conundrum. I mean, he is, as you and me have talked about many times, the most malleable superstar in NBA history. Arguably the greatest scorer of all time, just as far as how he scores, the efficiency in which he scores, and the amount of ways that he can hurt you, how he scores. However, Kevin Durant has already basically made it known that he does not care about his legacy, and he does not really care about how he leaves the game of basketball once his time is done. Kevin Durant does not care about what people think of him and what people will think of him when he's gone. And you can look at that, however you want it, good or bad. But, to see how we got where we are currently, we got to know where we came from. So he leaves, he's
that you want.
Obviously drafted by OKC, pairs up with Russ, a young James Harden. They make it to the Western Conference Finals, and they blow a 3-1 lead to Golden State and Steph Curry. And he requests a trade, personal conflicts between him and Russell Westbrook. And he actually ends up going to Golden State. And those are the best years of Kevin Durant's career, where he wins 2 rings, 2 finals MVPs. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had personal conflict issues again with Draymond Green, he probably could have stayed there. But nonetheless, ends up in Brooklyn, and he joins forces with James Harden and Kyrie Irving, one of the most talked about big threes of the last couple decades. And it was just a complete and utter failure. They never really amounted to anything. Multiple injuries on both sides. Kyrie being suspended and not able to play on traveling games in certain states when that whole COVID thing was going on. So he ends up requesting a trade out of Brooklyn and ends up in Phoenix, where he's paired up with Devin Booker, and later they would add Bradley Beal. And once again, it just didn't turn out to be what he thought it was going to be. It didn't turn out to be the solution that everyone thought it was going to be. So now here's where we are. And the problem with Kevin Durant is he hasn't made it out of the second round since his time with OKC, with Golden State. We don't see him in the conference finals. We don't see him in the finals. It's been 7 years since we have seen Kevin Durant in one of those two situations. And for Kevin Durant, that's not great. He's 36, about to turn 37 in September. So you want to start looking around to see where he could go. Is there a team in the league, Cam, bring yourself full screen here. Is there a team in the league where you think, with Kevin Durant's inability to stay healthy, he's only played 1 season of more than 60 games since his time in Golden State, is there a suitor for him that would help him end his career and continue to build his legacy? Or is his legacy is what it is, and he really can't do much to change that?
So his legacy is done. I mean, I think he has a clear cap on how high on the list he can go. In terms of teams to help him go further, like, he would have to go somewhere where he is far and away the best player with no one else really in question to take that title. And it would have to be a team that was a borderline or fringe contender, or maybe not even, that he then catapults to a new bracket. Like, off the top of my head, he goes to Miami, and Miami makes a run at the finals. Like, is it legacy altering? Probably not, but it's something. It's something a little bit extra. But Kevin Durant, like I said, has a very clear cap on where he can go all time. And you had said, like, he is the most malleable superstar ever. And it's just a weird conversation and a weird predicament that we're in for Kevin Durant. And Steve, before I take over, I want to say this to you that I thought of while I was taking my notes. I want to see your reaction. Kevin Durant might be the worst second best player in the league of all time. Think about all the other times throughout all the years of, clearly it was like, Magic, Jordan, LeBron, whoever, and then whoever would be right below them. You are still saying that player and that team that they are a part of are, could be contenders, or they have an argument to be number one, or whatever whatever it is. Kevin Durant, while some people believed he was the best player at the time over LeBron, he was not. No one actually said, well, a team with Kevin Durant on it can really make a run at the finals and you can really be successful. And that has always been the black mark on Kevin Durant's legacy of, can he truly be the leader to get you to that next spot? And he never really had that. So that is the number one thing on his resume that we say, yeah, he can't go any higher than that. But in terms of also where he goes all time on that list, Kevin Durant's the only person that we judge all time by purely the way he plays the game of basketball. Like, I'll throw up what Steve and I kind of agree on our top 15 NBA players here. And if you look at this list, all the guys above him, you can say, like, okay, they have this quality or this intangible or this something about them that sets them apart, that clearly that's why they are where they are. Kevin Durant has none of those things. The first time anyone ever who comes to you with an argument of, here's why I think Kevin Durant should be higher, Steve, you have brought it up. It's because he is a really good scorer, because he's 7 feet tall and can shoot threes from half court. It's because, as we had mentioned, he can fit in any sort of situation. But again, that's more about the way he plays basketball than about Kevin Durant, the player. There is no one else that we make that same argument or that same logic for, where it's just, yeah, it's all about how you play the game. I think that even though we judge him on purely his skill, that in a way is also a part of his legacy and a testament of, well, he was so good that he can just have that and be where he's at. Sort of like what we say about Mahomes, in a sense of, like, yeah, everyone agreed right away he should be in that conversation, so that should add to his legacy. It's the same thing. Everyone agrees Kevin Durant's a really good player, and that's why. That should be helpful. And to kind of put that into perspective, I use this analogy a lot when people try to say about, well, if these players would have played one-on-one, player X would win, so they should be better all time. I always say, so look at that conversation between Kyrie and Shaquille O'Neal. You play them one-on-one, Kyrie gets the ball first, they play to 11, make it take it. Kyrie is going to win 11-0 easy. But no one actually believes that Shaq is a better basketball player than Kyrie Irving. He's just huge and dominant and is going to back Kyrie down and score, and that's how he could win if he has the ball first. Kevin Durant in that analogy is Shaquille O'Neal, and the rest of the top 15 is Kyrie Irving. While everyone else can have the claim of, well, I can do this or do that and be better than you, Kevin Durant is going to just say, well, I'm going to back you down, and because I'm 7 foot and can score from anywhere, so I deserve to be here. So, like I said, Steve, it's a very unique position Durant is in, and there are really no other all-time guys that we kind of look at or view in that same way.
Kevin Durant, when we look at the guys that you and me were talking about earlier, those top 15 guys, there's something else that all of them have that you and me have really never seen from KD, and that's that leadership. That leadership quality that you rally the troops, you put everybody on your back, and you do you to carry your team to a win. Kevin Durant doesn't, that's not him. That's just not his style. He wants to go out there, be the best basketball player he can be, and hope that the chips fall where they may around him.
There is for Durant to say, I don't care about my legacy, I'm just here to play basketball, the world can view me however they want, I know who I am. That is to be applauded for sure. Like, it takes a legitimately strong-willed and, what's the word I want to look for? Like, mindful person to acknowledge their, I don't want to say limitations, acknowledge their position in this life. So while, like I said, I applaud Kevin Durant for having that mindset, we, as in sports fans and sports media members, are allowed to judge him accordingly based on what he then does with that mindset. Like, if he wants to say that, fine, but then we get to still judge you fairly based on everybody else.
Agreed.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.